Hi, so today I'm going to be talking about Clipstudio brushes, values, and color. Hi, my name is Escobar. I'm a storyboard artist on the Simpsons television show. I've been working on the show for over 25 years now, and I'm here to empower you. So today I'm going to be talking about three different things. This is a video that I recorded for somebody who I was coaching. This is only a clip from a very, very long video that I recorded for this person. So I'm not talking about their critique. So I critiqued their work. I did some other stuff. We were talking about a lot of different things, but I came across it and realized that in this giant video that I recorded, there's this little chunk of really good information. One of the things that we were talking about were Clipstudio. We were using, I love Clipstudio. That's the program, that's my go-to program. So I was using that, and I was talking about the brush types. So I used the darker brush, the darker pencil brush tool, and the color pencil brush tool. And I talk about density and how to use it, and what some of the sliders mean, and that sort of thing. So if you're curious about that, that's the first half of the video. And then I also talk, and I also put some values on some spheres. And then on top of that, I start adding color to it. And then I start talking about the theory of the colors, but at the same time, what kinds of, what the layers do, how to add color to a black and white, and what it means and why, and all that stuff. So it's a lot of really, really good info. It's stuff that when I watch these videos and I look back on them, I go, oh man, I forgot I knew this stuff. And then I get reminded of the stuff that I know that I forgot, that I tend to use. So it's always fun for me to go back and go, oh yeah, that's right. Man, I haven't used that in a long time. Like I haven't used this technique in a long time, or I haven't thought about this, or I forgot that this tool actually did this. So I got an education from my own video, watching it back, going, oh yeah, I no longer do that. Why don't I do that anymore? Oh man, I've totally forgot about this. So if I got something out of it, and I was the one who recorded it, then I'm sure that you're going to get something out of it. So here's the video. Okay, so this is the darker pencil tool up here. It's on the very top. And then this is the color pencil tool. So I'm going to draw well, with the rough pencil. I'm going to draw a box. I mean a box, a circle, and another circle. Okay. And with the color pencil tool, I am going to add tone to it. Now I'm going to talk a little bit about brush density and the checkerboard color in the color palette. So brush density means that it's how hard the pencil is going to draw when you are using it. So it's maximum density means that it's going to be as dark as possible. So it's kind of like using a B pencil, like a B6 or B10 pencil. They're crazy. But the less you saw me reduce the density, the less you reduce it, the softer the pencil gets. It's like you're getting a harder lead, right? So it's almost like an H and a B pencil and that sort of thing. It's getting lighter. The less dense you make the pencil. Now I'm using a white here, but what I really want to do here, I shouldn't use the white color. I should use the checkerboard. So here I just clicked it to the checker. So what the checker does is it kind of makes the pencil into an eraser. And the benefit of using this instead of an eraser is that it keeps all the properties of the pencil you're using, only it just deletes. And so that means it's using the density of the pencil, and it's using the textures of the pencil, and but it's acting as an eraser. And that is super ideal because Sometimes you want to keep the texture, and sometimes you want to have more control. So watch. Let's see if I do. Okay, so here I'm going to start using it here, and I'm going to start lightening up the drawing using the checkerboard. That means that it's essentially I got no color, and it's actually taking color away and taking tone away. And I'm doing it very lightly there. It's almost like a kneaded eraser. Okay. Now, one of the reasons this ball kind of went out of control is because the density was way too high. So had I reduced the density all the way down to, okay, see, this is the highest density here. And this is a little bit less dense. And I'm pressing just as hard, so it's a little bit, see, it's harder to get the same darkness, but I could do it by going over it. But I think if I go all the way down there, see, look, as hard as I'm doing, this is as far as it goes. It's like having a very hard lead. And you have to go over it and over it and over it and over it much more just to get that same kind of darkness, because the default is so light. So had I used the lightest density, I would have had much more control over how dark the light area would have been, right? So I'm using very light density there so I could get the effect I want. So that's what density is for, and that's how it's used in Clipstudio. It gives you more control of your drawing and of the type of tone that you're adding to your drawing. I'm going to be talking a little bit about okay, so let me just go back to darker pencil here, and I'm going to reduce the density. Okay, so first let me talk about hardnesses. So this, if you go all the way down to the bottom of the hardness edge of the darker pencil tool, it gives you an extremely soft brush, a brush so soft, and it's not really very good. And then when you go all the way to the highest hardness, you get this super hard edge. Okay, so going somewhere in the middle, we get a little bit of both. Like it's a little soft, but it gives you a little bit of a thicker edge. And then if you go over here, it still seems a little bit hard. It still seems a little bit hard. I kind of want something in between those two. Like this is too soft, and then the other one is too hard. So let me. So if you check, there's a little arrow, and you can see that one is 60 and one is 95. So what we probably want is 80. Let's try 80. And that's pretty good. That's pretty good. That's kind of like a nice in between. It's like right in between. So let's get rid of this big blotchy mess. And let's do the tone on in the ball. And at first I start just kind of going for it, not having learned the lesson of oh no, I did. I was about to mess up, and I did see I'm reducing the brush density, so it's really low, and it's way too low. So now I barely can get anything. So I'm gonna, there you go. So notice how the brush density helps, because now I have a nice light layer to begin with. Okay, and then I can go from light to dark, and all I have to do to go darker is to go over the same area over and over and over. But the brush density really helps. But I think I still went overboard, and I still lost a lot of control, so I'm going to have to use the checkerboard to delete some of that and get some of my gray tone back and control that gray tone. There. So much faster than with the color pencil for sure. And I go back to the dark again with a really low density. And I think I need to go back to the checkerboard and lighten it up a little bit more again. So back and forth, trying to get the right values. And now you may be wondering what this has to do with anything, because brushes and yeah, but I like to color because I paint, you know, I do the coloring and that sort of thing. Well, here's the thing. Value is king. Value is king if you're going to do any kind of color at all. So value gets, value does all the work, but color gets all the credit. If you get the values right, the colors are going to be right no matter what the heck you're coloring, what colors you're using. And this is a really bizarre thing, but it's the truth. So I'm going to show you really quick. I created a brand new layer, and I made that layer in that bottom menu. I picked color on it. The adjustment layer color. Now I'm going to come over here and I'm going to pick a color. I'm going to pick green. And then I am going to color on top of my drawing with the Fill Mono tool. And then I'm going to then paint bucket. And now I have a nice shaded green ball. Because the value did all the work and the color gets all the credit. I'm going to do the same thing with this one. I'm just going to color it blue. Fill Mono tool with a paint bucket, and then we go. So if you want to get a nice shaded thing, first get it shaded, then add the color, and then with the color adjustment layer, and bada bing, bada boom, you're done. But that's not all. You could actually not necessarily use the color layer, but you come all the way down to the overlay layer. And if you do that, you get a very similar effect. The thing about the overlay layer, it acts a little bit more like watercolor, where you're just actually adding a layer on top, while the color layer, what it does is just there's a little bit less control. It's the color layer just kind of creates a color with no real finesse. So the only problem that I have with this method, though, is that it's not very true to life. When something gets darker, it doesn't go black. Unless it's completely devoid of light. So usually when something becomes darker, it becomes a darker version of itself. It becomes a darker gray. The black actually isn't completely black. It's some sort of color, even at its shadow. So here I'm attempting to add some color to the shadow, but you know what? I'm using the wrong method. So what I'm going to do is I am going to duplicate my my original value layer, and then I'll show you what happens. So there I am, I duplicated it. Now I'm going to take this duplicate, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to use the lock transparent pixel check, the little box thing. And what I'm doing now is I'm going to take the kind of teal color, and I'm going to color the shadow layer. So let me show you. I'm going to turn those off. See, now the shadow layer is turned off. So that's another way of coloring your gray layer. And so because the layer is locked, it's going to color anything that's in that layer. So, and I'm trying to find the right shade of green, so that it's not just black and white, but it's got some kind of color. So it's a little bit more neutral green, but it's still going to be green. And maybe not green, maybe blue. Okay, and then boom. So now the tone, the shadow, the dark area is not black, but it's got its own hue. And that helps a lot. That makes it feel a little bit more natural. So let's do the same with the blue. Let's add a purple. Let's turn that in purple. And that looks nice. That actually looks nice. Instead of black, it's slightly purple. See? So there you go. And now we have a much more natural feeling, two more natural feeling balls, and the light feels a little bit more natural than what they look like in black and white. The only thing is that I think that I like the black line in the original version. So I think that the black line needs to be black. So I go over and I get black, and then I try to make the lines black instead of the blue that I had. And do the same with that one. And I'm using the monofill tool, and the monofill tool is a little bit too harsh. And as you can see, I'm making a really unseemly hard line around some of that. So really what I should have used is the airbrush tool, because the airbrush tool gives a soft line, and it makes it for a nicer transition. So I just switched to airbrush. The thing that makes the airbrush tool extremely useful is its ability, because it's a soft, let me make the brush bigger so you can see, because it's a really soft line, it's really nice for making gradients, like mixing different colors together and making gradients, because any object, no matter what that object is, isn't one tone, isn't one hue. A white wall often has lots of different color variations inside of its whiteness. Red apple has lots of different color variations within its redness. So what you do is you just kind of get the brush tool, the airbrush tool, and you grab the color, say for the ball, and you just adjust the color a little bit, and you just kind of very lightly spritz some different colored blues in there. You could even go in and add very strange colors. So here, let me see if I can show you what the layer itself looks like. By the way, if you notice, when I turn off the value layer, the layer with the values, the colors disappear because of the color adjustment layer, the overlay. They're not overlaying anything, and the only thing that gives it any sort of tone or value or color is the value that they're covering up. Okay, so in order to just see the actual colors I'm using, I put the adjustment layer to normal. So that's what it actually looks like, and you can see that I already airbrushed a few color variations even within that. So I'm going to take some red, and I'm going to very lightly spritz it around the green area. Just see how suddenly like the colors come to life, because there's just variations, and red is the opposite of green, and orange that I'm spraying here is the opposite of blue. And so now we've got complementary colors kind of spritzed into that layer. And now we've got even more, you know, subtle gradient variations of tone and value in the color. So it makes it that much more natural, that much more convincing. It feels a little bit nicer. But again, once again, the colors don't matter. Value does all the work. Color gets all the credit. You could if you master value, then it doesn't matter what colors you use, really. It doesn't matter what colors you pick for anything. It'll look nice. It'll look right. It could be garish, horrible, ugly colors, and that could kind of ruin it. But if the values still work, then it'll at least come together. So I'm happy to announce that I now have a new drawing lesson called Drafu Guide to Sketching and Gesture Foundations. It's the beginning of the level 2 information that people have been asking me for the drawing website, which will teach you where to start drawing, what to draw when you draw, how to draw from observation, how to draw from imagination, how to draw what you envision, and how to discover what you ought to envision if you don't have anything specific in mind. So if you find any of this interesting, you could follow the link that you see, or you can go to thedrawingwebsite.com, look under level 2, and you'll find a link there.